Hello and welcome everybody to our very last session on design thinking. So our workshop last week did a complete and utter overview, very comprehensively, of all the stages of design thinking, along with an overview at the very beginning, and then finally at the end we talked about how to promote an innovation culture within yourself, within your university, and in organizations. So today's session is short, and I just want to play 4 videos for you. 3 of them are case studies on how design thinking is helping innovation in the real world. So today's session is about design thinking for innovation. So we're going to be looking at case studies. We're going to look at 3 of them, in fact, one in the healthcare, one in the motor industry, and one in the entertainment industry. So remember, to improve is to change, but to be perfect is to change often. So let's talk about innovation's greatest challenge before we actually look at our case studies. So do you remember we talked about fear last week? So fear of failure is probably the thing that stops people from being innovative. But we should be prepared to fail, and often, in design thinking. I mean, that's what design thinking is all about. Is about experimentation, and it allows a culture of failure. So please adopt design thinking and realize that failure is a good thing. We're learning lessons. So get in quickly, experiment quickly, fail quickly, and get out. The fear of risk taking. You know, individuals and organizations have a preference towards conventional approaches because we as human beings tend to be risk averse. You know, we don't like to take risks. We don't like to fail, actually. We want to be successful all the time. But this tendency, however, reinforces the status quo and prevents us from pursuing innovative solutions. Innovation is accompanied by uncertainty and instability, and most people just like the status quo. But we can reduce these uncertainties by adopting a human-centric, empathy-driven approach to our experimentation, because that means that we are forever looking at the user needs rather than prototyping or testing what we think people need. So if we take a human-centered approach, we should always be testing for the users. So let's now talk about design thinking for innovation. So design thinking can help us promote, manage, and sustain a culture of innovation and create better environments. It necessitates empathy-driven insights to design solutions for the future, for a better world. So not relying on traditional knowledge and conventional solutions, we empathize as the foundation from which we break down prejudices and generate inclusive results. And we achieve this by observing, engaging, immersing ourselves in the user experience. So now let's have a look at our first case study, and this is about the healthcare system. Okay.
Hello everyone. We hope you liked our first design thinking case study on Ghana's Clean Team that talked about how design thinking improved generational sanitation and hygiene in the low-income districts of Ghana. Today, we'll be showing how applying the design thinking framework in healthcare empowers employees, patients and creates a whole new different experience based on functionality and emotional needs. Students from the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford brainstormed on ways to improve the patient experience in the Stanford Emergency Department. 10 Stanford doctors, nurses and technicians, as part of the exercise, created a simulated care environment for simulated patients, proving design thinking to be an indispensable asset to any field. Design thinking, said Alpa Vyas, Stanford Healthcare Vice President for Patient Experience, is a way for healthcare to make changes by empathizing with our patients and their families. The class stressed on care in the emergency room, which was more about the experience, not medicine. Design thinking is centered around empathy, and this involves asking questions, which is a good way to get an idea about the patient's needs. Ideation. On the first day, the students interviewed the healthcare workers, patients and their families about their experiences in the emergency room and with healthcare in general. Later that day, the Stanford doctors and nurses participated in a simulated environment that was created to understand what patients and their family go through as they walk into an emergency room. This added a great emotional value that complemented the interviews. The class was taught by Emily Wagner and Marnie Bohan, 2 design strategists. Wagner said, "Empathy is a tool that encourages students to step out of designing for themselves and trust the people they're designing for." Prototyping. That first day's empathy-filled environment inspired the class to move on to the next phase of prototyping. Some important issues came to the forefront. Patients always want to receive continuous information that can make them understand what was happening, and it was important for them to know that their care providers were constantly communicated with each other. Patients have high anxiety and fear, especially about the unknown. So, they thought clear communication and coordination would help relieve their anxious state. At the end, the class presented their research and ideas to the healthcare administrators and the doctors and nurses of the emergency room. Design thinking in Stanford Hospital. The new Stanford Hospital was built with design thinking at the core of its plan. At first, 2 nursing units were redesigned in the old hospital to serve only patients with cancer. Patients and their families were involved from the start, said Helen Waters, a design and innovation leader with Stanford Healthcare. "We wanted to know what they needed and what they felt was missing." The team conducted interviews and tabletop exercises and also simulated real-work environment in the proposed layouts of the nursing units for 7 months. The patient safety department is using design thinking as one of many scientific disciplines that are applied to safety redesign, says Mitesh Rao, MD, Director of the Center for Advanced Patient Safety. Anytime we want to implement clinical redesign to create a safer and more resilient system, it requires a true understanding of the needs of all the users, he said. Design thinking is one of the most important strategies that improved the patient experience at Stanford. Helen Waters, Administrative Director of Product and Service Integration, said that its importance cannot be ignored. How can we deliver human-to-human care in a way that is meaningful and high quality and sustainable if we don't design something that takes all parties' needs into consideration at the same time?
Okay, so that showed us how design thinking was used in the healthcare system. So we need innovation for change. So how do we foster it? In fostering innovation for change, design thinking requires us to define the problem to ensure that we focus on the right issues. So it prompts us to empathize with consumers, or in the video's case, the patients, the clients, and evaluate the context and iteratively modify the problem statement. This helps us create meaningful and productive solutions that meet user needs and contribute to project success. And the process of immersing ourselves into the user needs helps us gain insight that we might not otherwise have. And then this prompts us for innovation. So now let's look at our second case study, and that's the automobile industry. It's in fact looking at Tesla and how Tesla used design thinking.
Welcome back to Case Studio viewers. This will be our 5th case studio from the series. We hope that this series is helping you to understand how design thinking works and how you can use it to execute your ideas or improve upon your products, services, and experiences. In previous case study we looked at design thinking in Netflix. Today we'll look at the automation industry. There are many companies that are pioneers in building cars, but one company stands at the forefront of it: Tesla. Tesla was the first company to bring to the market consumer-friendly electric cars that were affordable and eco-friendly. Before we proceed further, we would request you to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload something new. Coming back to the case study, let's get an understanding of why we have chosen Tesla as our subject for this case study. Understanding. Global warming is a serious concern that needs our immediate attention. Jocelyn Timperley from BBC reports that globally transport accounts for nearly 3/4 of the greenhouse gas emissions. Keeping this in mind, Tesla's mission now is to build cars with clean and sustainable energy.
We created Tesla to make a difference in the world. The world desperately needs sustainable transport. If we don't solve this problem this century, we are fracked.
Ideation.
The electric car is here.
During the 1990s and 2000s, there were many attempts to build electric cars that could meet consumer needs. But then this happened.
GM never sold the EV1, it only leased them, and is now demanding that all of them be returned.
After 10 years and well over $1 billion spent to make a real business case out of it, it didn't develop.
So most of the returned vehicles have been donated to museums, cannibalized for parts, or sent to this junkyard. They'll be crushed and recycled.
The main challenges that car makers faced at the time was building a battery for the car that could last long enough, as also to find a way to charge the battery fast enough.
GM no longer had to produce the EV1, and there were reasons it didn't want to. The car's batteries get only about 120 miles per charge, and replacement batteries cost at least $6,000.
GM gradually recalled almost all of the leased EV1 vehicles due to a lawsuit and destroyed them. Some of them were handed over to museums. But you would be surprised to know that movie director Francis Ford Coppola is the only verified private owner of a GM EV1 outside of the museum.
I really loved this car, and when I heard they were going to destroy them all, I hid it so that they couldn't get it.
Tesla began in 2003 with engineers Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning trying to build an electric sports car, but in 2008 they came out with the Roadster. Although not a sports car, this electric car overcame the challenges of building a battery that could last long enough. The Roadster could complete 320 kilometers in one charge. Though this battery was better, it still wasn't good enough to drive in, and there was no viable option for fast charging the car's battery. Roadster was the stepping stone to Tesla's flagship car, Model S.
There are 2,300 Roadster owners out there driving all around the world today who helped us get here today. We thank every single one of them, and everything they taught us is in Model S. Everything.
Tesla released Model S in 2012, giving better mileage and a lower price tag, which instantly became a market hit.
So we're going to count it down, all right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let them go.
Tesla mainly uses lithium-ion batteries for their cars and came with a capacity of 40, 60, and 85 kilowatt-hours. With respect to charging a Tesla, you could do it in 3 ways, with a regular charging port at home which would take around 52 hours, a level 2 charging point, which is an EV charger at your home or at commercial spaces, which would take around 9 hours, and lastly, through supercharging. Superchargers are charging stations set up by Tesla in public spots, which would take less than 40 minutes for a full charge. While charging could happen overnight, this was still time-consuming and inefficient. In the efforts of scaling up and meeting demands for Teslas, Elon Musk recognized the need for more batteries and storage products for the cars, and found it difficult to source the materials, and decided to set up the Gigafactory, one of the world's largest factories. The Gigafactory now manufactures Model 3 electric motors and battery packs, in addition to Tesla's energy storage products, Powerwall, and Powerpack. Over the years, Tesla improvised on its cars by adding an autopilot feature and a dog mode. They also added many safety features to their software. Autopilot was introduced in 2015 with the aim of making driving easier for long distances and eventually for disabled persons. Dog mode was introduced in 2019 to help pets stay in a controlled environment in the car when the owners were away. The dog mode was received with positivity by many. It's also interesting to note that Tesla uses their own self-driving software and in-car software. All Tesla cars now have over-the-air updates which work like updating apps on phones. This over-the-air updates help car owners always keep their automated cars up to date. Prototyping and testing. Tesla beta tested their autopilot feature by installing it in all their cars through over-the-air updates, which then used the data to flush out bugs and make the program better. This method has been met with apprehension and doubts. But Tesla continues to test and improvise. Tesla test their cars using multiple methods and assessments. They are known to have gotten the highest scores on the Euro NCAP testing program, which is a notoriously harsh testing program for automobiles. While these are novel features of Tesla's electric cars, it's also important to note on the sustainability front, in 2021 alone, Tesla enabled their users to avoid emitting 8.4 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Tesla has been popular in the media due to its advanced electronic features, as well as controversies about its cars, workplace practices, occupational safety, and business practices. Though there are controversies and concerns, Tesla remains the world's safest and leading automaker in electric vehicles. With a market capitalization of $600 billion.
All right, here we go. On 3, Tesla. 1, 2, 3, Tesla!
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and give us your feedback in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel for more. Tesla used design thinking to become one of the world's best automakers. See how you can use design thinking to your advantage.
So this video really did show us that design thinking drives action. So by prototyping and iterating, we're not merely getting bogged down by a single conventional grand solution. We're looking to solve the correct problem, and by prototyping and iterating, we're creating many different prototypes. You know, design thinking is about thinking outside the box. So do you remember we talked about a slow lift? So if a lift is slow, need we necessarily replace the motor? Or is the problem lying somewhere else that people get too impatient to wait? It's not the lift at all. If pens do not work in space, do you remember that one? NASA and the rations? You know, should we allocate all our resources to developing a zero gravity pen, when in fact a pencil will work perfectly well? So design thinking involves rapid, cost-effective prototypes that we can test and receive user feedback on. And this helps us to arrive at user-centric solutions with significant impact. So now let us look at our final case study, which is the entertainment business, and we're going to be looking at Netflix.
Don't get too excited. We haven't collaborated with Netflix yet. This is just to give you a hint about our fourth case study. Design thinking in Netflix. Design thinking, as you've noticed over the last few case studies, has applications not only in the field of UI, UX design, but in all aspects of making a service, product, or an experience. While previously we looked at design thinking in finance and other sectors, today we turn our focus to something we all are familiar with: Netflix. Netflix, as we know it today, is an online streaming service with a market capitalization at around $74 billion, but it didn't start the same.
You still don't have Netflix?
Netflix is the best because it shows up in my mail, and then there's no late fees.
Go online and make a list of the movies you want from over 70,000 titles, and get your first DVDs in the mail in about 1 business day from over 40 shipping centers all around the country.
First thing we say when we walk in the door is, "Did you check the mail? Is there a movie in there?"
Keep them as long as you want. No late fees. Return one in a prepaid envelope, and Netflix automatically sends you another from your list. Netflix, the DVDs you want, now from only $4.99 a month. Go online to Netflix.com to start your free trial.
It began in 1997 as a DVD rental service that delivered the rented DVDs to your doorstep. In 2007 they began online streaming and changed their business altogether. So, how did Netflix implement design thinking? Understanding. If anyone wanted to watch a movie during the 1990s, they had to either go to the theater or rent DVDs for movies that were out of the theater. Reed Hastings, CEO of Netflix, and Mark Randolph empathized with people who rented DVDs and were charged enormous fees when late and generally a non-customer-friendly market. He recognized the need for a more customer-friendly and convenient alternative and set up Netflix. Ideation. They began by having an online directory for DVDs which, when rented online, would be delivered to their doorstep. Later they started a monthly subscription model which cut the cost of having to pay for every single DVD and late fees. As the internet started to grow, Netflix tuned itself into online video streaming, providing comfort and convenience at low prices. They started building an online directory for media and began with a subscription model where many movies and shows were available. This eliminated the hassle of renting single physical DVDs, having it delivered, and the magnitude of time it took to watch a single movie. With online streaming you could watch the movie instantly and on any device. If we look at the current UX, UI design, we see that Netflix has many features that aim at helping you pick a show to watch. The landing page of the website showcases many shows in a card format. Each show has a rectangle and when hovered over opens a wider rectangle which gives you more information about the show and begins to play a clip from the show, instantly revealing what the show is about, after which, you decide whether to watch it or not. Netflix also has a liking system which shows recommendations to you based on the shows you've watched and liked, instantly recommending you shows you might enjoy. These features efficiently cut down the time you take to decide on the show you want to watch. Prototyping. Netflix tested its features on beta users. Beta users are people who receive new features on their accounts first, and their usage gives data to the company. This data helps the company in understanding if a new feature is helpful to the users or not. Netflix and design thinking. From renting out DVDs to now streaming the latest of movies and web series, Netflix has got it all. The sheer idea of using internet to the fullest and keeping the end user in mind has made Netflix what it is today. Having such a diverse, easy to use and personalized interface translates into users staying loyal to your service. Like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this. For more case studies on design thinking, check out the description. Netflix used design thinking to bring to you a theater-like experience at home. Learn what you can do with it.
So now that we've looked at 3 case studies, which I hope you found interesting, and there are plenty more on YouTube to see how design thinking is used to solve real life problems. Please go and explore for yourself. Now, just a quick word on managing an innovation culture. So let's talk about how Pepsi-Cola uses design thinking at organizational innovation. It's just a very quick video, and it prompts you to go and read an article, but never mind. It's important that you know that big companies such as Pepsi-Cola actually use what we've been talking about.
Managers and management researchers are increasingly interested in organizational innovation. In today's fast-paced, competitive environment, managers are called to initiate and guide profound organizational changes that allow firms to explore opportunities to do things differently, exploit strengths in mature industries, enter new markets, and compete through developing organizational capabilities. Many firms have started experiencing the benefits of design thinking beyond product innovation to encompass the human side of organizational innovation. Design thinking is a pragmatic method to address seemingly ambiguous and complex problems and has the potential to sustain a human-centric approach to organizational innovation. Design thinking is often framed as a creative problem-solving methodology, especially in industries where transformation requires new competencies and capabilities to develop effective customer experiences.
In an organizational perspective, it shows that in large corporations, adopting the design thinking method, the organization shifts toward a more human-centered perspective, bringing design to the core of the organization.
PepsiCo is a particularly insightful case. In 2012, PepsiCo established the Design and Innovation Unit to instill design thinking mindsets and practices in the company. This article study of PepsiCo reveals the emergence of 9 design thinking practices that are key to organizational innovation. A few of them are valorizing personal attitudes and desires, empowering decision-making through prototypes, absorbing external viewpoints, and searching for co-conspirators. This study contributes to our understanding of how design thinking can foster organizational innovation, but how this methodology is not a one-size-fits-all. To learn more, read Design Thinking for Organizational Innovation at PepsiCo by Stefano Magistrelli and others in California Management Review, Volume 65, Issue 3.
Okay guys, so let's consolidate. So we've had 3 case studies. We've looked at how innovation culture is necessary and can be embedded as a culture within an organization. But in week 1, many weeks ago, we learned about the many disruptive technologies that are driving innovation and change today. So change can be difficult, but it signals and development of novel ideas, goals, or good services that challenge the status quo and offer better solutions and better answers for today's world. Innovation is not restricted to groundbreaking interventions or innovative good ideas or goods. It can be gradual. It's continuous improvement that can lead to significant gains over time. And the importance of innovation is immense, but innovation can be difficult to achieve. The importance of innovation is immense, and achieving innovation is not easy, because we've talked about the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, the fear of risk-taking, which are all things that prevent us from trying to be innovative just as a spontaneous reaction. Remember, children do this as a very natural way of learning, but as we get older, we filter it out of ourselves as adults. So we want to have a beginner's mindset, and we also want to have a childlike embracing of innovation. So a human-centered approach in design thinking helps us break away from traditional thinking by incorporating emotional and aesthetic values. And this shift challenges and the tensions that we must strive to dynamically balance. You know, for an organization, are we in design thinking, it's linear versus non-linear, so it's very iterative, short-term versus long-term, profit versus user needs. There's so much to balance. And the more embedded design thinking becomes in organizational cultures, the more likely it is to succeed in producing innovation. And remember, we watched India's Green Revolution last week, and I shall play it now as the very final thing before I say thank you very much for being with me over this 10-week journey, and I hope our paths will cross somewhere in the future, but I do hope that you will embrace design thinking, and you as individuals will make an impact on all our lives. You can change the world. So go out there and start believing it and start doing it. Thank you very much for being with me over this 10 weeks and this wonderful journey. Take care. Bye-bye.
India is building something you can see from space. No, it's not a statue or a temple or a Taj Mahal or a Great Wall. It is a plant, the biggest in the world.
Dear world, we are in the middle of a revolution that no one is talking about. And if I were a kid, I would 100% jump on this revolution behind me. It's called the Green Energy Revolution.
Here at the UK Science Museum, there is a gallery that just shows you how big this revolution is.
Welcome to Energy Revolution, the Adani Green Energy Gallery.
It's not one revolution, it's 3 revolutions. Nuclear revolution, solar revolution, and wind revolution. That's 3 times as exciting.
Take India, for example. The largest renewable energy installation in the world is not gonna be in Europe or North America. It's being built right here in India by these guys from Adani Green. This plant will generate 30 gigawatts of green energy from solar and wind by 2030. It will power 22 million homes in India alone with green energy that makes zero carbon.
I am proud that Adani Green Energy is leading an energy transition that honors that commitment. We are also aiming to reach 45 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. This will be like providing clean energy to almost every house in England.
And I bet you did not know that. In just 10 years, India grew its green energy by 400%. 400% in 10 years! This is how the graph of green energy looks like here. And I bet you didn't know that either. By 2070, this country is aiming to reach net zero emissions. And by 2030, half of India's energy will come from renewables, which means hundreds of millions of tuk-tuks, cars, motorcycles, and buses will have to go electric. This will be a thing of the past. This bus is 100% electric. The revolution has already started. This is not just India. In the future, every single country will have to do the same. Now imagine how many new jobs will be created as we turn the world from fossil fuels to green energy for billions of people. You know, so many kids are thinking, what career should I have? What job should I get? What industry should I join? And I'm like, it's so obvious. The green energy revolution is gonna create so many jobs. This is 100% the future. Join the green energy revolution because nothing is more powerful than turning the world green.